There are a lot of social and cultural forces at work when it comes to violent encounters. And sometimes it's simply not your fault. But there are a number of relatively common triggers for violent encounters, especially in urban areas. So keep watching. Number 1, physical contact. This is a trigger that can escalate to a violent encounter quite quickly, especially in a crowded environment. A simple mistake like bumping into someone could lead to misunderstandings where it escalates out of control. Of course, your assessment always has to be whether the person did it deliberately, and that's how you rationalize how you respond. For example, if you're walking down the street, minding your own business, and someone chips the side of your shoulder, that's a little bit different when you're in a crowded environment because people are passing by and they're relatively close. But if you're standing there and someone walks smack bang into the middle of your chest, they've pretty much done it deliberately. In certain environments, such as bars and so on, you could look at it as a mechanism of targeting, where young lads, what they do is to start a confrontation, to get themselves into a fight, will deliberately walk straight into you, chest to chest, or even block your path. Or, worse yet, push you out of the way just to trigger a confrontation. That's their issue, and likelihood is you can walk away from it, but it is a potential flashpoint for violence, and one well worth managing carefully, because if someone makes physical contact with you, they have bad intentions from the outset. Number 2, staring or glaring. Now, we've covered this a lot in my videos. Eye contact can be exceptionally aggressive and of course often considered a challenge to your ego, especially in certain cultures. So it's best to avoid prolonged eye contact. Now, these potential flashpoints can happen, but you're always looking for an accumulation of factors. And this leads to the next potential trigger. Number 3, when people invade your personal space. Most people will have a natural inclination to be aggressive or to feel defensive in protecting their personal space. And this is a subconscious feeling. It's something that we all do. And the distance you allow people to stand within your personal space is really dependent on your relationship with them. Your personal space is essentially boundaries. And these personal boundaries will allow only certain people to come within a distance towards you. So generally, your intimate partner will be well within your personal boundary. They'll have close contact with you. Your personal friend may be within arm's distance for conversation. And a complete stranger, you would expect them slightly further out. People who aren't in our group, from a different tribe, for example, you wouldn't allow them within your personal space. It is cultural specific as well. Some cultures are actually more formal and they require further distance away from each other. Some are much closer in their communication, especially with their body language. And this is why certain people, when they have their personal space infringed, will feel a high level of threat. And this could trigger a violent reaction. Understanding the cultural and social norms of the people around you are really important to avoid confrontations and flashpoints to violence. The simple tip is look around, take your head out of the phone, pay attention to the normative values of what's happening around you. Number 4, those gestures. So gestures can provoke confrontations. Someone flipping the finger, shaking their fist. It's cultural specific in some places, but it can trigger violent encounters. Some people simply take offense to it and they kick off purely because they see it as a form of disrespect. Either way, it's got to be high on the list of behaviours that actually trigger street fights. And of course, like most of these variables on this list, you can choose how you respond to it. It's simple body language. Simple gestures like pointing and making fists could be signs of hostility, especially from a distance. And these are always potential triggers for violence. Number 5, the stupid things people say. They might taunt you, they might insult you. You've bumped into someone, maybe the guy's in a bad mood, and he says, "Watch where you're going, idiot," or maybe worse. This is an active trigger of a confrontation. Now, of course, if you rise to a simple comment, you're obviously escalating the situation yourself. But sometimes people may take offense and they may verbalize that with insults, but also ridicule. When a stranger laughs or mocks you, for some people, that could be a trigger to a violent encounter. Yes, that does relate much more to an ego battle. You could say that everything I've said on the list so far contributes to someone being disrespectful towards you. But this in itself can trigger a violent encounter, perceived disrespect. And that could be ignoring someone who's speaking to you, dismissing their concerns, or even laughing at them. Number 6, public intoxication. Basically that drunk dude. Now this could be a potential flashpoint for violence, partly because alcohol reduces your inhibitions. It makes it far easier for people to escalate to violence with strangers. Because we all know there are social norms in how you behave in public. What alcohol does is it reduces your ability to reason, whilst increasing your ability to act with a lower level of inhibitions, which basically translates as, you're drunk, you can do whatever you like because you don't really care. The flip side is that impaired judgment, combined with attracting attention from strangers, is likely to lead to trouble. Now, I know we all know that, but when we're in a busy, crowded environment with unknown strangers, you have to take this as a valid assessment of your safety. So what's the takeaway? Most of these variables are situational specific. They're also cultural specific as well. Depending on where you live and the culture in which you live will actually have an effect on some of these behaviors and how people respond or interpret these behaviors. So essentially, it's good to have an awareness of what's happening around you. Be aware of the social values, the cultural differences as well, of the place that you inhabit. And if you're new to the area, then it's always wise to sit back, watch, and learn before you start interacting with people. Thanks for watching.